Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you today and talk about IEP goals that you can delete. I'm super excited to share this simple strategy with you that's going to help reduce your stress and your overwhelm when it comes to IEPs. So let's talk about this strategy. Let's jump right in. I know that you are super busy. Welcome to all of the parents and teachers that are here. Please let me know, where are you watching from? And if you have an IEP question, you can go ahead and drop it in the comments below and I'll get to as many as possible. So here we're going to get started with IEP goals that you can delete, and you're absolutely 100% in the right place if you sit at an IEP table, you're exhausted from IEPs, and you are ready for change. This webinar is not for you if you like the idea of due process, you believe in us versus them in special education, or if you don't like coffee. I'm really just seeing if you're paying attention, because I know that you're multitasking while you're watching this. I don't know many parents and teachers in special education that don't like coffee. So fill your mug, get your journal out, and get ready to take some notes, because I'm about to simplify the IEP process for you. For those of you that don't know, I've been in the field professionally for over 25 years. I have a brother with Down syndrome, and I thought I was going to save the world of special education as a teacher. So I went to school, got a couple of different degrees, got 5 different teaching certificates. And what I found myself doing was teaching by day and coaching parents, and then eventually my colleagues, by night. So for the last 20 some years, I've been working for you, the parents, teachers, admins, therapists, on building IEPs that work. I'm the founder of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship, where I teach you how to become a Master IEP Coach and apply these skills not just for yourself, but for those in your community also. So if you have heard about the Master IEP Coach program and you've been thinking about it, just know that we're getting ready for our last Master IEP Coach mentorship of the school season, because let's just face it, this school year, once again, has been a hot mess, and there's going to be a lot of work to do come springtime. There's going to be a lot of IEP meetings, a lot of decisions with data and ESY and what's working, what's not working, a lot of talk about compensatory education, and it's not all going to be pretty. We're going to have some really tough conversations, and that's why I wanted to focus with you today on what can you delete out of an IEP to make life easier. Now, by no means am I ever saying that we should lower expectations or not work on things that are important. In fact, I want to help you streamline and prioritize the IEP so it's more effective than ever. The foundation of an IEP is not just to give a free and appropriate public education, but it's to meet a child's unique needs and to prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. It's absolutely impossible to prepare a child for further education, employment, and independent living if we're cramming the IEP with a ton of miscellaneous goals. So before we talk about deleting IEP goals, let's talk about what you need to do before you get ready to delete an IEP goal. And then I'm going to tell you how to get a bonus session, VIP coaching with me, when you join the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. And then I'm going to teach you which goals you actually can delete. But as we get ready to decide which goals we want to delete, I want you to do this prep work. This is not something that you just say, hey, I want to delete some IEP goals, and you contact the IEP team, no matter what your role is, whether you're a teacher, you're a parent. You just can't contact the IEP team and say, hey, let's delete some goals. That's not how the process works. Before you get ready to delete some IEP goals, you need to get ready with some reasoning. I'm going to give you those reasonings today. You have to get ready to document with data. So important. No decision should be made without data. Your decisions are only as good as your data is. We need to make sure that we're not using our feelings, but we're using facts to make these big changes to a child's IEP. And as you have this conversation, one of the most talked about points when I'm working with a team on what goals to delete and what goals to keep, I have to often remind everybody that we can always revisit this goal that we're going to delete. Just because you delete something now doesn't mean that it has to be deleted forever. It can be deleted for the next 6, 9, 12 months. It could be deleted for the next 2, 3, 4 years, but it doesn't have to be deleted forever. Deleting an IEP goal does not mean that you are giving up. Deleting an IEP goal means this is not a priority right now. This is not a priority to prepare this child for further education, employment, and independent living. This is not a priority based on the child's age or developmental stage. So it's absolutely okay to remind everybody as you open up this conversation on which IEP goals to delete that we can always revisit it, that this is not a permanent decision. It might be, but it doesn't have to be. After you delete these IEP goals, I want you to know that it's going to take some really clear communication moving forward on what's working and not working on the new priorities, on the new focus. So get ready with a communication plan. Did you guys know that you can get a communication plan written into the IEP? It can be in the notes section or accommodations and modifications, but a clear communication plan between home and school to home is so important. If you need a better communication plan in your IEP, go ahead and post that in the comments below. Let's hear, are you happy with the communication that's happening between home and school? Also, again, I want you to have the conversation about revisiting this goal if necessary when you go to delete the goal, but you do have to make that promise and revisit. Is anything that we gave up working on need to come back into the IEP? That's how deleting goals and then putting in new priorities works effectively, is when we're ready to really work together on revisiting what else we may need to put into the IEP and may need to take out in the future. I also want you to get ready to celebrate, because when you make this decision to start taking some things out of the IEP, you're going to be a little bit nervous. You're going to be a little bit, filled with anxiety of, did we do the right thing? Are we making the right choices? But if you go through this process and you have some reasoning and you have some data and you're working as a team and you know that could be just a temporary thing, not a permanent thing, I absolutely want you to take a breath and celebrate, whatever that means for you. Too often, we're so hard on ourselves as parents and teachers and admins and therapists that we're not taking the time to celebrate the joy of watching a child learn, the joy of seeing a child move forward. And when you start to delete IEP goals that are not a priority, you give the child the opportunity to focus on the skills they need most, and you can see progress in a whole new way. All right, I'm going to hop over here to the comments real quick. Let's see. We have Marsha, who is an hour north of Chicago. She's a teacher and she has 2 kids with special needs. She's already signed up for the Master IEP Coach Mentorship Program. Hello, Marsha. Excited to have you here today. Marsha being here today and signed up for the Master IEP Coach Mentorship means that she gets 2 VIP coaching sessions with me. And that's because I want to make sure that Marsha is successful in her journey to become a master IEP coach. Did you guys know that the American Training Institute says that if you make a commitment to a training program or to create change, which that would be like joining the Master IEP Coach Mentorship, you are 65% more likely to meet your goal. That means that if you've been thinking, I want to be a better advocate for my child as a teacher, you're saying, I want more of my students' parents to know what's going on in the IEP process. I want to help my fellow teachers write better IEPs. If you are looking to change your efficiency and proficiency in IEPs, you want to see the change for a child, not just short-term and long-term. When you join the Master IEP Coach Mentorship, research says you're 65% more likely to make that happen. However, it says that if you have an appointment for accountability, once you make that commitment, you are 95% more likely to reach that goal. And that's exactly why I'm giving 2 appointments to everybody who signs up for the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. So the first one, I can get to know who you are and what your goals are. And the second one, I'm going to hold you accountable and help you reach those goals at a whole new level. So I'm going to go ahead and put that link down here since Marsha's talking about, let's see. Gail says she's excited too. So she's signed up for the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. So I'm going to be meeting with Gail. Let me go ahead and get everyone the link here. You'll see it in the comments, where you can sign up to become a master IEP coach, learn simple skills like this, help yourself, help others, and I can't wait to meet you. But let's get back to what's going on with the IEP goals that we need to delete. Oh, Becca Sue says, can't wait to start. Awesome, Becca. Can't wait to meet you too. All right, so we have before the delete and after the delete. Now, Let's talk about which goals you need to delete. Now, when you go to delete goals, this is not something that I take lightly. This is something that I absolutely want to make sure you're clear on, you're feeling good about, that you're communicating as a team. The goal that you're going to delete needs to meet these 3 criteria. I'm going to be totally honest with you. After sitting at thousands of IEP meetings and doing this for, 25 years, sometimes we've deleted every goal out of a child's IEP after looking at this criteria, and we've absolutely started from scratch. Sometimes we've only deleted 1 or 2. I don't know where you're at in your IEP journey, but this is something that you can definitely look at as a big picture, and do not feel disheartened if you're like, oh my gosh, every one of the goals fits this criteria. We could delete them. Awesome. Let's start from scratch. Sometimes that's what we need, is a fresh start. So when you're going to delete the goals and they meet these 3 criteria, outdated skills, meaning that sometimes inside of the IEP, you will find skills that are based in the 1980s version of special education. When my brother, who's 43 with Down syndrome, went to school, counting things like penny, nickels, and dimes was super important. Not so much anymore. We need to absolutely learn about money. And if learning about coins is part of that journey, that's okay. But what we don't want to do is put an outdated skill like penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters into the IEP in a way that it is stopping a child from making progress. So many times in curriculum, when it comes to math, you have to master the penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters before you're allowed to move on to dollars and rounding and estimating and budgeting. But actually, we can do a lot of those skills in reverse. We can be working on greater than, less than. We can work on budgeting. I mean, think about how you go to the store. You counting your pennies at Target? I don't think so. So outdated skills, there's many of them. If you can think about any of them and you want to drop them in the comments and get some feedback, please go ahead and do that. The second criteria is that it's a single vision goal, meaning that somebody on the IEP team came up with it and not everybody was necessarily on board. It's not part of the parent input statement or parent vision statement. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's a huge part of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship, is putting this fantastic parent input statement into the IEP. So you can absolutely have the parents as a leader. So you absolutely need to have a parent or a caregiver giving you that direction for how a child is going to be functioning inside of the home and inside of the community, because every family is different. All needs are different. So when we have a single vision IEP goal, meaning that it is written, let's say, by a speech therapist, and it's a goal that might be good, but it's out of context and not everybody is on board with it, that's a problem. The other thing is that the goal that you delete has to be not mandatory. So there's going to be some goals depending on your child's skill level, ability level, grade level. There's going to be some goals that the school is absolutely going to require that a child needs to meet a certain goal to fit a certain, let's say, criteria, maybe for a standard diploma, that we have to maybe not eliminate something because we need to work towards it to ensure that the child can get a standard diploma. Or we need to make sure that it's not a mandatory goal in life. Meaning, I don't want to delete something that, for example, let's say communication, where we're teaching a child how to tell us which body part hurts when they're not feeling well. That's a mandatory skill that we can always be working on, because being able to self-advocate and share when your body is hurting is very important. But if you have an IEP goal that is an outdated skill, that was not written as a team effort, and it is not mandatory for a child to be prepared for further education, employment, independent living, or mandatory within the school system, that goal can, and I'm just going to be bold here and say, and should go away. We have a limited amount of time during a child's school day where they have instructional time direct with a certified teacher. We need to take advantage of that time and work on the highest priority goals. That's something that I love to teach inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship, is how to figure out what those really high priority goals are. I want your time, your child's time, to be used wisely when it comes to their IEP, what goals need to be focused on, and how we're going to truly have a meaningful progress every school year. We want to have measurable progress every school year. We want to have this all come together, even in a school year like this, where we have chaos still ongoing. All right. So as I start to share a little bit about this Master IEP Coach mentorship and what's going on, a couple of things. Number one is, remember, because you are here watching, you're not going to see this on what I'm going to show you right now. You're not going to see 2 accountability appointments for me to help you become a Master IEP Coach. You're not going to see that anywhere. It's only because you're here right now. So what happens is you sign up to become a Master IEP Coach, and then you send me an email that says, I get 2. That's it. It's that simple. And you're going to get 2 VIP coaching sessions. But let me go ahead and switch my screen here and share with you. Let's stop this. And I'm going to share with you what it looks like when you click over to that link to become a Master IEP Coach. And again, in the meantime, I want to make sure that you know you can put questions down below. I'm going to be popping into the comments. I saw that Jessica was over there. I'm going to see what Jessica has to say. Jessica is a current Master IEP Coach, and she has 2 children who receive special education services. And I love seeing Jessica's story because she just moved across the country. So she's navigating a new school system, which can always be exciting and frustrating at the same time. So Jessica says, after my son's reevaluation, we scratched all previous goals and restarted with a new plan in mind. Doesn't that feel good? Wouldn't that feel good for some of you guys, your teachers, as parents, to just say, you know what, can we just start over? Can we have a do-over? And that's absolutely possible. If you feel like, how do I make this happen? Or who's going to give me permission to make this happen? There is no permission to make this happen. It's teamwork. Absolutely, it's teamwork to make this happen. So go ahead and keep those questions coming below. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of Master IEP coaches. So there's Jessica. I just told you about her. She's hanging out here. She will absolutely be in the comments. If you have questions directly for Jessica, go ahead and ask those. But here on the screen, we have Alex. Alex loves to work with our twice exceptional students. So that is somebody who is gifted and struggles. And that's an absolutely unique place to be. And she has used the Master IEP Coach mentorship to make sure that every child who is struggling has the opportunity for inclusion and that the IEP team is working together collaboratively. Now, keep in mind, every one of these Master IEP coaches I'm sharing with you, they have a role at the IEP table before they began. And what they wanted to do was help themselves in this IEP process and help others. They wanted to work from home, building a Master IEP Coach practice that would allow them the flexibility to work with IEP teams at a whole new level on their own schedule. And just have that flexibility to make change in special education without feeling tied to a certain strategy or without being focused on what everybody else wanted or said on how things were going to be done in special education. They're the change makers in special education. Master IEP coaches, I always say they're the idea bringers, solution finders, and team builders at the IEP table. So there you have a little snippet of what Alex is up to. And then we have Angela. Now, Angela West Brown, she took her Master IEP Coach skills and she started to work with Georgia State University. So teaching how to do partnerships in the community and to change future outcomes for individuals with disabilities is a huge part of becoming a Master IEP Coach. We also have Nicole. And now Nicole is a bit more of what I would call a traditional Master IEP Coach. And this is what I did for 20 years. What Nicole is doing right now is what I did for over 20 years before I began the Master IEP Coach mentorship and teaching you how to do this. Nicole takes clients who are struggling, who are parents, who their IEP team is not hearing them, and they don't want to get into the legal battle, but they're not sure if there's another option. So Nicole goes to IEP meetings. She coaches parents before, during, and after the IEP process. And here's the interesting part about Nicole. The special education director recently came up to her and said, how do you make this happen? How did you make this collaboration happen? We've never seen this before. And quite often now, Nicole actually gets referrals from special education departments for parents to work with her to find the creative solutions. Because having been on the inside of the system myself as a teacher, I know that hands are tied. I know that a lot of times I can't make a suggestion as a teacher, but if a parent brings a suggestion, we can absolutely consider it in a whole new way. So becoming a master IEP coach gives you the opportunity to really think out of the box and collaborate. For those of you that are like, what is included? What's going on? How is this going to fit into my schedule? You go to the link. I promise you, all of your answers are there. You're going to get live Q&A. You're going to have lessons and community and guest experts and progress coaches. You're going to get some swag. And this is really important. You know, sometimes I skip over this part, but not today. The Master IEP Coach Mentorship is trademarked. Everything that I'm going to share with you inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship is different than the stuff that you Google. So if you're like, well, I'm just going to keep on doing my Googling and figuring this out on my own, I promise you, I'm going to cut that learning curve for you and give you strategies like learning which IEP goals to delete to make your life easier inside of the special education community. So go ahead and drop those questions below. I want to make sure that I get to all of them. I'll be scrolling through, checking them out. Go to the link, Master IEP Coach Mentorship, get your 2 VIP sessions. Don't worry that you won't see it when you go there. All you have to do is email me, say you were here. And don't forget that you absolutely do not need permission to bring the conversation to the IEP team that it might be time to get rid of what I call junk IEP goals. It's not because they're not written well, it's because they're no longer important. They're no longer a priority. They're no longer that number one skill that a child needs. We've been through a lot in this past year together. We've been through a lot of doubt, chaos, and seeing things break right in front of us. Watching services just disappear. But we can put all of these things back together better than ever. And I'm going to help you do that inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. We're going to rebuild IEP goals at a whole new level. And I cannot wait to see you inside of the mentorship.